Hello and welcome to the Marketing Ping Pong Podcast. My name is Ali.
And my name is Duncan. Say that 5 times fast. Marketing Ping Pong Podcast. Marketing, that's a good one.
Yeah, no, it's really tough. There are times where I have to just be really slow. Marketing Ping Pong Podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Marketing Ping Pong Podcast, and we are going to be talking here today about boring businesses and how to make them more interesting. So if you're new here, the premise of this show is Duncan and I love to play with marketing ideas, and we love to play with ideas of if I owned this business or that business. Now, the business that I want to talk about today, I actually have zero interest in owning. But I think it's an interesting challenge for us to talk about because there are opportunities that I think people could have a lot more fun with these kinds of businesses. And so we've already done a financial advisor, which is kind of traditionally a boring business. And I kind of also like the idea of we flip-flop between super fun businesses and super boring businesses. So this is what we're going to do today. Are you ready, Duncan?
I have never been more ready for anything in my entire life.
All right. So what we are going to do today is we are going to talk about how we would market a law practice.
Okay.
So I've been watching a lot of Suits. I don't know if you've ever watched Suits.
That's so funny. We've been watching it too. Yeah.
Have you seriously?
Yep.
I liked the first couple of seasons. It's gotten ridiculous. Louis Litt is one of my absolute favorite characters.
Yes.
On TV. He's fantastic. Interesting in all different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So because we've been watching a lot of Suits, and it's gotten popular because of the whole Meghan Markle thing, and so it kept popping up to the top of Netflix and recommending that we watch it. So the kids and we watch our own shows, and then Tim and I have our own shows. So this is a Tim and I show. We watch Suits. And obviously there's a lot of intrigue in this, right? Like corporate espionage and all of these crazy things that are happening. And they have to make the show so ridiculous because in the end, being a lawyer is pretty darn snooze fest.
Yeah, a lot of paperwork. Yeah.
Yes, it's a lot of research, and for some reason, they don't show us that part. Mm-hmm. Only when they find, there's the thing, but they don't show us all the research and the paperwork and the reading and all the boring parts of it.
Yeah, on Suits, it's like whenever they're in the file room, they're like making out or something. Like nothing.
Yeah, I don't think
nothing ever real happens in there. Yeah.
Well, and too, Mike is supposed to be like this interesting character, and the most interesting thing about him is he didn't have to go to law school and actually go through all that boring reading. It's like he was able to jump the line and get to the front and become a lawyer without having to do any of the boring stuff.
Yep.
So that's corporate law, right? There's so many different kinds of law, so I don't even have a direction for this right now.
Sure.
What I would love for us to talk about, if you and I, in a parallel universe, went to law school, maybe even Harvard Law School, because I've learned from Suits that that's very important.
Oh, yes.
And we are graduated and we need to go and set up a practice. What would you actually focus on that you think that, because you still got your marketing brain is in there too. It's next to the law brain. So marketing wise, if you had a law firm, what direction would you go? What kind of law would you practice? And then ultimately we want to talk about how would we market this? So I have some ideas, but I would love to hear from you first first of all, does being a lawyer sound like the worst job on the planet?
It sounds like the worst job on the planet.
It's the worst job on the planet.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of headaches, a lot of reading, a lot of people problems. I feel like that's really all lawyers do is sort out, people problems for the most part, right? Even with all the paperwork and everything, you're really just mediating arguments between people and groups of people, and it's like a nightmare to me. I don't want to talk to anybody, let alone help sort out their problems. kids. But I like the intellectual challenge of trying to figure out how to make something that I would never even want to do myself fun. I like the challenge that represents, and I think that maybe the first question that I would ask myself is like what you said. What kind of lawyer would I even want to be? And I think that if I, in this alternate universe, if I went down that path, probably my motivation, because I'm a giant softie, would be to help people. Like I feel like there's big opportunities to help people with being a lawyer. There's people that need help, they're in trouble, and they need somebody who knows how to navigate the law and understands how to make sure that they don't get screwed over, and I think that's probably the direction that I would take. I don't know if that's family law or maybe helping protect people that are getting attacked by maybe like corporate entities, or maybe their landlord's kind of a jerk and they need help. Like I like that kind of stuff. Even in Suits, like when Mike does the pro bono stuff and he's trying to help the little guy go after the big corporation and get the money that they're owed, like that kind of stuff.
I was gonna say, you're definitely a Mike Ross.
That gets me fueled up. Like I want to get the little guy some money. So I like that, and I think that as far as like my marketing brain still being there, if you understand your ideal client, we talk about that on these episodes all the time because it's so important. In really understanding how you're going to market your law practice starts with knowing who your clients are. You have your billboard kind of ambulance chaser lawyers that really understand who they're going after. It's like you'll see a billboard like, have you been in a car accident? And it's like their ideal client is somebody that's been in a car accident that knows that they need to see a lawyer and a doctor within 24 hours or whatever to get the maximum amount of money they can from their insurance agency. And it's like they're speaking to them in that very clear way. Billboards on the highway where there's a lot of accidents and very clear understanding there. So for me, knowing that I want to help people, maybe like the little guy, the marketing challenge there is like that still is pretty broad. So how do you kind of shrink that audience down? Like there's a lot of little guys, and maybe to me it's like real injustice. Like in Suits, Mike kind of went after some of the things he went after were big corporations that just had the money, and like maybe not necessarily the people didn't really need it. He just kind of wanted to stick it to the corporations. And like I feel like maybe even kind of like shrinking that audience down and saying like, don't worry about corporations and just go after maybe where people have been taken advantage of because of kind of crappy laws or crappy government regulations. It's kind of getting like even more boring as I talk about it, but like that seems to be like the group of people that probably need help the most. The people that are kind of bogged down in the bureaucracy of government and law, and like they're getting the raw end of the deal because of a law that kind of sucks. So that's probably who I would help. Maybe people that are,
I could imagine either like family law or immigration law or something like that. Where
they're stuck in the system and they need help kind of like greasing the wheels to get through a process or a bureaucratic process faster. People that really deserve it, trying to help them get through it. So that's probably my ideal client. Now, how do we talk to them? Well, before that, like, what kind of lawyer are you going to be?
What kind of lawyer am I going to be? So I was actually part of a jury recently, and I really enjoyed watching the lawyers. I was very intrigued by that. I've watched a lot of Law and Order. I've watched enough courtroom shows that I'm like, I know how this is going to be. And it was pretty similar to what it's supposed to be, although more boring. But what I really liked about watching the lawyers was kind of the ability to ask the right questions, and being able to rephrase a question to get the answer that you're trying to get. And I really enjoyed like the mental side of that, right? But as I was watching them, I thought, oh my gosh, all the prep they've had to do for this case. Like, there's so much of this that I just have no interest in at all. So I do like the intellectual side of it. I kind of like the debate side of it. I always thought it was a little bit slimy or ski. I never understood as a kid how like a defense attorney could defend somebody who was apparently guilty, or at least we feel that they're guilty. Like, how do you morally go up there and say, like, no, I don't want this person to go to jail? I don't know, but then I watched a lot of Matlock. They were innocent. They were innocent the whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really hard to say. I think I would probably, because I totally hear you, like I would love to be a Mike Ross. I don't know how well I would last in a situation where you're constantly being bombarded by injustice and that gumming up of the government, of the systems, and people getting stuck in the system, because the lawyers get stuck in the system too. Being a lawyer does not necessarily grease the wheels of that process.
Sure.
I think two areas that I would find marketable. So I'm looking at that too. Like, what is something that I could actually market and make money? So there's a reason why the injury lawyers have billboards. They're making enough money. There's a reason why, Suits is on the top floor of the big high-rise building with the huge, New York City skyline, is because they're doing a business that makes them money.
Yeah.
So, being a prosecutor, if I wanted to be a prosecutor, you get paid a salary. The kind of work you're talking about a lot of times happens in clinics and that sort of thing, because nobody can really afford to pay you for what you need to do, because you're helping the person that's actually in pain. So it is a tough thing, because you want to do the right thing, but you also
need to get paid.
If we're trying to build a business, there are some things that pay and some things that don't pay.
Yep.
So it's really to me a tough, because I can say here I would go this direction because it pays money, but I don't feel like I'm making a difference in anybody's life. Or I could go this direction where I make a difference in somebody's life, and yet I don't make any money. So I almost feel like it's an impossible choice between the two. Like, how do you create a business that is highly marketable as a lawyer and still keep your soul? So I think the two directions that I would go is definitely, and we've had some people in the networking groups. In fact, all the lawyers that we've talked to in the networking groups, they're not the personal injury or anything like that. They're much more of kind of like the estate planning type of, like, even doing things like LLCs, corporations, estate planning. They're the paperwork guys, right? We make sure that it's filed correctly, it's filled out correctly, it's filed correctly, and you are able to then feel secure, etc.
Dotting your T's, crossing your I's, that kind of thing.
Correct. That can feel slimy because there are people trying to circumvent and get out of things and whatever. But for the most part, I think that is helping people.
Sure.
That if you die or if this happens, we've limited your liability in this, and we've protected you as a person. Yep. One thing I like about that business is the packages that people create. Like, we will do your will. We will, whatever things they do with the house. Like, I'm going to sound so stupid because I don't know. Like, whatever the things they do so that if you, like, die in a car accident, everything is protected and it goes straight to your kids without going through probate and all of that nonsense. So I think that is helping people. And I think that's a fair direction to go. The other one, and I don't know why, but, like, I know it could get ugly, but I would find divorce attorney interesting.
Yeah.
I do think that, you're getting in the middle of somebody's mess, but one, you'd be hearing all the gossip all the time.
All the time.
That would be fun. Like,
your business would be gossip. Oh.
Yes, the whole business is gossip, and this is what she did, and this is what he did. And I don't love drama in my life, but I don't mind watching drama in somebody else's life.
Yeah, who doesn't love a good house fire, right?
I know, right? Like, you gotta watch. Yep. But I think that, helping somebody who's in a bad situation that's, potentially abusive, either physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever, and helping them find solutions. I also think it's very marketable. That you can help somebody through the process, and they kind of need that best friend with them going through the process. And I would definitely, probably because I'm a lady, I would help the ladies more than the men's, and just say, like, hey, look, I got you. Like, I can hold your hand. I can take you through this process. I'm going to spell it all out. This is a very traumatic thing that's happening to this person, especially if there was abuse involved. And I can take them through the process and say, here's what we're going to do next. And this is what I'm going to do for you. And I can kind of be that cushion for this person and help make this terrible process something more positive and empowering and a good thing ultimately for them in their life.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that I think maybe a fun thought exercise for us here would be for you to be the divorce attorney for the ladies, and me to be the divorce attorney for the guys, and see how we would each market that. What do you think?
I'm for it. I'm gonna
Okay. I'm gonna go the slimy route.
You're gonna go the slimy route.
Yes, I'm really sorry, but yours is very nice, and I'm gonna take the opposite track. I'm gonna be like, hey guys, she's gonna try and take you for all you're worth, and we need to do everything we can to stop that in its tracks. The reason I'm gonna market that way is because it taps into people's desires, and I think that we've talked about that. You know, it taps in. That's like the biggest pain point, right? Whenever a guy talks about, whenever I hear TV or pop culture talk about divorce, it's like she's going to leave with half of everything. 50% of marriages end in divorce, and she's going to take half of everything. So that's going to be my angle. I'm really sorry for being the slimy lawyer.
I'm excited.
But I think that would be my main angle is like, protect yourself. Here's my free educational resource for the top things that you need to look out for when you start to get into divorce proceedings. Here are the things that Ali, the lawyer, is going to do to try and get as much of your money as possible that you need to look out for. And that's going to be my main marketing piece of marketing material, is going to be my free education for men who are going into divorce. And I think that you can kind of take like a white knight approach there too. It's like, nobody really talks about these things. Lawyers don't talk about these things because they don't want you to be armed with this information to be able to do it yourself. They want to get paid. They want to take all the money, all the fees for themselves, but I'm really here to help you and make sure that you don't get taken for all you're worth, because that's what the other team is trying to do. They're trying to take as much as they can, and I'm here to help protect you from that. So that's like slimy, but also good. I'm the guy in your corner. So that's how I'm going to spin it.
See, now I'm conflicted on whether I should throw more ideas your way for your side.
Well, luckily neither of us are lawyers. So.
I'm going to. So I will take off my lawyer hat for a minute here and just be the marketing person. No, I think that's slimy, yes, but good, because I think, again, that education side of it and making people feel like they're not alone through this process, and that they've got somebody looking out for them. And I can totally see, a whole Facebook page centered around giving men who are having a tough time in their relationship if they've already, because most likely, and I watch enough TikTok. I'm on the feminist side of TikTok, so sure. I hear a lot of this stuff. Statistics are that most women file divorce. Yep. Men will not file divorce.
Yep.
Men will usually wait for the woman to do it, because you know what? Women handle all the shit in the family, so they have to handle the divorce too.
I agree.
So it's got to be some kind of messaging of he's been sideswiped out of nowhere, had no idea this was coming. Where do I go? What do I do? Oh my gosh, I have not done all of these things in advance to protect myself. And I think a good secondary business for you would be, hey, I'm a men's divorce attorney, or I'm a divorce attorney, and here are the top 10 signs that a marriage is going to end that most guys miss.
Yep.
But what I would add to that is, and here are the top 5 ways to protect yourself. And I would also offer services that are protecting their assets and making sure that they move certain things out of somebody's name.
Yep.
Not
offshore accounts in the Caymans. We got
correct.
Yeah.
All the slimy things. Don't leave the house, because then possession is a big part of the divorce process.
Yep.
if you want to be able to see your kids, don't do these things. Don't like take them when it's not your turn to take
Yep.
them. And,
Yep.
just kind of giving them advice on how, even before they've hired somebody, just as it's starting to happen, giving them like, all right, this is what's about to come down the pike.
Yep.
These are the things you need to do to protect yourself. And
Yeah,
if
like a
you,
preparedness kit, like checklist for
yes,
how to be prepared for divorce. Yeah.
and if your wife has threatened divorce several times, but she hasn't done it yet, buddy, you're in for a shocker
Mm-hmm.
when that envelope shows up at your office, where she's asking for a divorce. So before you even get hit with that, here's how to protect yourself. And then the good side of me says, and here's a number of a therapist.
Yeah.
By the way, here's
No,
a marriage. Here, you should really do the therapy.
not
Just go
doing
to therapy.
that. No, we're going straight slimy. We only want one clear step, one direct response mechanism. Like if this is you, it's your time to get out. Here's your sign. Call me right now because she is leaving you. Like no therapists. You can give the option. I'm not doing it.
I don't want my people going to therapy because that's just dragging it out. These guys ain't gonna listen.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. It's just dragging it out. Don't go to therapy. Call
Yeah, just
me.
let it. Just kill it. Just
Call
kill
the
it.
divorce doctor. That's me.
I find divorce so. First of all, never been divorced. So I'm saying this with the awareness that I have not been through a divorce.
Sure.
So, and I know that it's hard, and it's, every vision of what you had in your life now is destroyed. All of a sudden you're on your own when you didn't think you were going to be, and you got to raise the kids, and now you got to figure out schedule. I know it's hard, but I find divorce an exceedingly healthy thing.
Sure.
Because if there are two people together who do not want to be together, they should not be forced to stay together for any reason. It's not good for them. It's not good for the kids. I think that we make decisions that are not always, I got married when I was 21 and it worked out for me, but thank God it worked out for me, right? It could have gone a totally different direction. And thank goodness there's an option like divorce. And so I take it from the positive end of like, let's get you your life back, right? And I know for most men, divorce is not a positive thing, but a lot of women have divorce parties where they get cake and everything, and they feel that freedom of no longer being shackled to somebody who is just making them absolutely miserable on a daily basis and won't go to therapy and just has no interest in changing.
Yep.
So yeah, I wouldn't suggest therapy either. I'd be like, the time for that was then.
Yeah.
Right now, we're going after everything he's got.
Prepare for war.
We're going for war. And I honestly feel like, because I'm not the type of person that's necessarily vengeful, or I want what's fair.
Sure.
Right? Like, I don't want to take from him what doesn't belong to her. But I think that my education would center around things like, okay, you were a stay-at-home mom. He's going to say you don't deserve anything. Right?
You know what? I don't know what it is about this episode, but as soon as you said I don't want to take anything that's not hers or doesn't belong to her, I was like, oh man, they're coming for everything. Like, got the war helmet on, pulled out like a battle axe. I was like, not in my house.
She deserves. She's not gonna get more than what she deserves, but she's gonna get what she deserves.
What does she deserve? I think this is like a really interesting way to think about it, and like having both sides of the coin here. It's like it was weird me feeling instantly defensive. Like I want to give everything to my wife right now. Like I've never been divorced either. Like she can have everything she wants, but instantly I was like, oh, if she wanted to leave me, she doesn't get it. That's all my stuff. Oh my goodness. Like weird. It's weird that feeling's in there, and I think that that's the feeling that my marketing strategy kind of hinges on. I don't think that if I ever got divorced, hopefully not, obviously, but I don't think that if I ever did, I would actually do those things and feel those things, but who knows? I know that people do. They're like really angry in that situation. Guys especially, I think, are just like pissed, and they're like, blindsided, like you said. And unfortunately, I think that's the most powerful pain point to tap into for a guy. It's like that defensiveness, that kind of aggression or anger. So yeah, I would do a lot of, for me, I would do a lot of like content that's like, you know, wearing armor and like just crazy stuff. Like you need to prepare for war and just be completely over the top. Because I think that I think that now lawyers and the law industry is very similar to the financial industry, where it's very buttoned up, it's very like prim and proper, and the best way to get out of that is to like just be kind of silly and outrageous and like be a bigger personality than any of the other divorce attorneys.
You're gonna have to be a bro. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Not me. This is all a thought experiment, Alice.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying like this is like men's rights. I would be like a men's rights activist. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, I mean, because that would be the stuff that would draw them, right?
Yes.
Like, you're right. I am the one who worked all these years.
Yeah.
We've been sitting on our asses.
Yeah.
Raising
So
kids. That's not hard.
very slimy. That's my direction, and I apologize, but that is what I would do if I were marketing this
All right,
divorce
so
attorney.
give me, so I would definitely go education for. I would be trying to initiate the divorce.
Sure.
I would be creating content that says, ladies, he's never going to change. He's never going to respect you. I would be using all of this TikTok stuff I've been watching about like emotional abuse and the gaslighting that happens, and the what is the one thing? It's basically where you pretend that you don't know how to do something just so the other person will do it.
Weaponized incompetence.
Weaponized incompetence. Yes, weaponized incompetence.
I'm on feminist Twitter too, or TikTok too. So
yeah. I've been watching all about weaponized incompetence.
Yeah.
And thankfully, you know, my husband is older than me. He comes from a different generation. He's a boomer. I'm a Gen X. So he brought a lot of that boomer mentality, but fortunately he's willing to grow and change and learn and all of that. And while he may not always understand why he needs to change, he does change. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But watching these videos, I'm like, holy crap, that's what he was doing. Even that was weaponized incompetence. He would say, but, you know, I left the kids' clothes for you because you're better at folding them. And you know what drawers they go in. And I'm like, why do you think I know what drawers they go in? So I would create, like, because I do it. So maybe if you did it, you would know what drawers they would go into. So I would take all that content and I would say, ladies, it's time to go. You come and talk to me. I'll walk you through the first steps. All of those fears that you have of like, how am I going to survive on my own? What if he gets the house? I haven't had a job. I don't have a career because I stayed home with the kids. If I leave, where does that leave me? I'm not going to have the money. All right, we're going to talk about how you get his money, right? Because you provided a service all of these years. You raised his kids. You took care of his home. It was a job. It was simply an unpaid job. And now time to pay the piper. Now is when you get paid.
So what kind of, it's hard to do a lot of paid media for lawyers, especially like divorce, car accident, anything that's like, anything like that is kind of hard to do paid media. But I think that the idea of creating like a first mover offer, like we need to move first and here's why, I think that would work for both sides of this coin. It's like women usually initiate divorce. That's what I would say. Like women usually move first, this percentage of women, and when they do, they get this much more of your money. So that's why we need to move now. And if you do, here's XYZ offer. You know what I'm saying? Creating an offer based around moving first, I think would be pretty powerful. And go ahead.
What I would do is the initial offer, because it is hard to do paid media for something that is a money transaction, right? Or even a hire me, like you're in their face. I would definitely do in-person workshops. Like the 5 things you need to know to protect yourself if you're going to get a divorce. We'll call it like tea time at the library or something like that. Like, honey, I'm just going to tea time at the library. If you could watch the kids for once and let me go to tea time at the library, and maybe even have like some childcare set up there at the library where they're taking care of the kids. She comes in,
Allie's going to win this case.
and we start talking about like, all right, you know you want to leave, you know you're not in a good situation. These are, again, the 10 things that stop women from actually going through with divorce, the 10 myths about divorce that stop people, that they feel like I can't do this because I don't know about if I'll keep the house. I don't know how I'm going to get a job. I don't know how do we actually plan the shared custody thing. I have no idea even how to start, and it just seems like such a big thing. And maybe they choose, okay, I don't think I want to go through those things, but maybe for those people who are like, I know I need to do it, I'm just too scared. I empower them with information, and
it kicks them off the fence.
Give them resources that if they're feeling scared, they can feel more confident. And of course, I'm the one there. I'm empathizing with them. I don't know that it would necessarily be a man bashing thing. It would be much more of a kind of like, sister, I hear you. And a lot of women go through this.
Sure.
And we don't need to take it anymore because we can get jobs. We can live in the world. You don't need no man. You don't need no man to be happy.
Empowerment event.
Yes, empower them that they can do it and give them that strength and that ability to do it.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm feeling slimier and slimier as we continue.
Are you gonna storm my presentation at the library?
Yeah. So we're gonna figure out that you're doing these events. We're gonna figure out what they're called, and then we're gonna hire a private investigator, and it's gonna be a free add-on for anybody that's a client, is like a week of private investigation, and they're going to figure out where these events are, and we'll use that as ammo in our, she was subversive and went to these events that were named something purposefully different than what they actually were, to hide the fact that they were going to get a divorce, to make sure that she sprung it on him as a surprise. Like, that's pretty wrong, right? So I'm going to use that as ammo for us. Yeah. So I'm feeling slimier and slimier.
Yeah, but she had to do it in order to protect herself because of the retribution she was going to get from him.
Your Honor, she's testifying. No, I love the education angle. Like, I think it's really powerful, especially with something like this that's such a black box, right? It's like people don't want to talk about it. They're kind of ashamed about it. Lawyers want to keep a lid on it so that they can control all the process. And, I think that it's like anything that has this much pain in it, it's almost as easy to market as the fun stuff, right? Like, when marketing, it's like you don't have to like try and find a pain point. Like, the pain point is the thing. It's right there, and tapping into that based on male female psychology and just the kinds of things that they tend toward would be probably what I would do.
And the irrationality that a lot of people are going to bring into it because they're hurt. Right. He cheated on me. She cheated on me. She left me. My husband has been through a divorce, and some of the things he told me he did during their divorce, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, she's the one who started it. And I'm like, oh my God.
It becomes a fight,
Yes, because they're hurt. Hurt people, right? And so being able to also take that and say, all right, rather than burning down the house. I'm not saying he burnt down a house. I'm just using as an example. I don't want that to sound like the natural segue from that. Rather than burning down the house or doing whatever, we're going to get them. For me, I would say we're going to hit him where it hurts. We're going to take half of what he has. And that's how we actually hurt him. Because he doesn't care enough about your feelings for you to say anything to him. He doesn't care enough about you for him to say anything that's actually going to hurt you or hurt him. But if you take his money, that's what's going to hurt. And again, I would never go after more than what she deserves, but we're going to go after as much as she deserves.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that, again... I think I'm coming from the slimier angle. Like this is just like the slimier side of it is like trying to make sure that she gets the least amount. That's like that's the product over here, and like it's kind of hard to not be slimy. So I think that literally just my messaging would be the opposite of what you're trying to do. It's like she's trying to get half. Here's how we make sure she gets 10%. Like, that's like a very clear message, and they know it. They know that's what a good outcome for the lady in a divorce is like she's getting half of everything forever. It's like, here's how we make sure she doesn't get half. So, yep.
So
Slimy.
and I want to take back my library idea. One, because you're going to sabotage it, but
Yep.
two, while I like the idea of having somewhere for the kids to go, a big problem with doing it in a library like that is you're in a small town and you don't want Janet to see that you went in there, and you also went in there and Mary went in there too. Right? So now Mary knows you're going to be gossiping about her, and Mary's going to gossip about you.
Yeah.
So I think I would do it as a private, like an anonymous webinar
Sure.
where people could ask questions anonymously, and then potentially maybe just meet up with them one-on-one after. To talk
Yeah.
through
I
things.
think the hard part about any kind of like event marketing, like large scale like that, is it's hard to make it not public, even if it
Right.
has like a different name. I was thinking that when we were talking about it, like how do you keep that, even if you rename it or do it, change it every single time, change locations. How do you really keep a lid on that and make sure that nobody actually finds out what it is, and that nobody that's in the group, like what if they know each other and they're like, oh, you guys are having a problem in your marriage and she's friends with that guy, or it's her cousin, or
And then they
whatever.
start telling and talking and all of that.
Yeah.
So part of it I almost love, if we could have a real sisterhood, I would love it, because we could go underground with this and we could go into the ladies' social circles. We could be talking to the beauticians. We could be talking to, talk about joint ventures.
Yep.
Who are the people that are talking to these women that are hearing these stories that can say, hey, I know somebody who can help you kind of work through this. They have a meeting once a month. Go check that out.
Sure.
I think if it wasn't so secretive in that women will gossip about each other, and, even though they've both, and again, I don't see it as like a humbling thing.
Sure.
If I'm really need a divorce, like I'm okay that other people know that. I just don't want my husband maybe to know that that's what I'm thinking about,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But it's hard to say like, oh no, they won't be talking to somebody else. So
Yeah.
joint venture wise, I think it'd be really cool to kind of have a network of people like hairdressers, like, that could say, hey, there's this person. And even if we didn't do in person, if we did webinars, if I could get all of those types of people with a pile of cards and say, if you hear of somebody, give them my card. If they're always complaining about their husband, or if they're saying they don't know what to do, if they're stressed out, this is my information, and kind of have that underground, like Fight Club type thing that nobody talks about.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
divorce webinar, but like we all know it.
There's an interesting marketing angle there too, where it's like you can build in a little bit of the mystery of Fight Club, right? It's like it's just a business card with a phone number on it, like no name or information. It's yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
hitman.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah, meet in like a parking lot or a parking garage or something. Like, yeah, I feel like you can build that in, and it I don't know. Some of it's necessary and some of it's like mystique. So like that,
Sure.
and that kind of helps. I don't know if that
Or
would
you
help
can
out with
only
this.
get in by referral.
Yes, yeah,
Somebody else has to invite you in order for you to get in to be
Yep.
able to do these things. And then we even give them instructions on how they're able to attend the webinar without any kind of anything showing on their computer.
Yep.
So if their husband is snooping around on the computer or the phone, there's going to be no trace of it. It'll say tea time at the library or whatever it is, and we can change that up each time so that it looks like it's something not, or crocheting with Betty or something like that.
Yep.
And it looks like something different each time so that it doesn't leave a trace that's
Yeah.
where you're.
yeah. There's like there's options there too, where it's like choose your own cover. Like, what's your hobby? Click this link if you crochet, and it like goes to that,
Yeah.
and it shows up as that. Yeah, yeah. There's
Yeah,
some
I love
interesting
it.
tech things there. Cool.
And for some women, it is a safety thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like they are literally scared for their own safety if they think that their husband
Found out.
will
Yeah.
find out. And for other women, it's that they do want to sideswipe them
Yep.
and just say, you know what? Boom, here's the papers. You are. This is it. It's done.
Yep.
And they want to hurt them that way, and maybe even do it in an embarrassing public
way. Yeah.
I think that will be an extra service that I will offer. We will
Get
we
a
will
little
send
slimy
the
there,
papers-
Allie.
we will send the papers specifically when we know he's like at the country club golfing with his friends.
Ooh, buddy, that's
We'll
rough.
emasculate him on the spot with divorce.
Man, I like the idea of I like the
film
idea. Yeah, it's all gonna be on camera. We'll do it live.
We'll do it.
No. I think that there's potential there too for like really high ticket on the guy side. Like if you think this is coming, here's how we need to prepare in the coming weeks kind of thing. And like a part of that is the investigation side. Like, is she planning on serving papers? Is this going on? And there's high ticket offers there that it's like concierge divorce from start to finish. Obviously that's obviously that's not like broader market, but there's definitely a market for it.
No, I think you should always think of the what is the high end, right? And with my handmade clients, we always talk about the shock and awe package, right?
Yep.
It's the what is the thing, the wow, like it's really handling everything. And in any kind of service where you offer a wow product, one, it's got to be a full experience. But two, it has to step in at every point, especially for something like this. You have to be what steps in at every point along the way where you're anticipating every move and you're cushioning the blow for him every move along the way.
Yeah.
Because that's what men need.
Yep.
Because they need the blow cushioned.
They need to be
that they
babied.
feel safe.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they need to be babied through the process so that they don't like feel like they're less of a man or something.
Amen, sister. Preaching the choir. Yeah.
But I think the same can be done for women.
Yeah.
That we're going to cushion the blow in fact, we're going to, let's say for some reason she does need to leave the house. We're going to book an Airbnb for you. We're going to get you set up there. We're going to give you some protection around the house so that he can't get in. So you're going to get that protection. We're going to change your locks. We're going to do these things. Instead of saying, here's all the things you need to do, now go do it. Our law office will do all of that for you.
Yep,
within
done
the
for
scope
you.
of what you can legally do.
Yeah, done for you instead of DIY.
Done for you divorce.
Same thing on the guy side. Like, you catch a whiff of her planning it, and like we will track the entire process. We're friends with their lawyer. Like, we know the agency that they hired to investigate you and figure out where you are. And we'll know when she's going to serve the papers, so we can whisk you away in an Escalade and send you off to the Philippines, whatever. And like, we'll take the papers and we'll make sure that it's quiet and all that stuff. Yep, interesting. I like the idea of high ticket, especially with law. You can have a lot less clients, and to me, generally speaking, that's the business model that is more attractive to me. It's like more clients, higher ticket.
Yeah, no, I love concierge service because you're able to serve that client so much more fully instead of just churning. And I think that would, obviously I want, so let's talk about scalability, right? So obviously I want to help the woman that has the abusive husband, but she doesn't have like a lot of resources. And I also want the woman whose husband is like some high-powered CEO or whatnot. She stayed home with the kids and she's tired of being ignored. And she don't need no man no more, and we want to help her with a full service.
Yep.
So then we expand this out to not I'm just a lone divorce attorney, but that we have a practice that has divisions, much like on Suits.
Yep.
We have divisions, and we have kind of almost like a pro bono type division or low cost division. I think one of the funniest things for me down here in Florida that we don't have up north is the sign saying "Get divorced for $349."
Yeah.
I think that's so funny, and I always tell Tim when we're driving down the road, I'm like, "Hey, you want to get a divorce? It's only like $350." He's like, not particularly. I'm like, but it's a deal. Like
Yeah, yeah.
we could get divorced right now.
We both make that joke. I get hit. She's like, Duncan, God, whack. I'm like, okay, sorry.
It's
Um,
cheap. It's a deal.
yeah, it's like you can't pass up that good of a
Yeah, I
deal.
know. So
We
I
have a lot
think
of fun billboards here.
yes. Well, the most fun billboards I've ever seen, if you ever drive through Missouri, ridiculous. But Florida's close. So I think that you can have these different elements of your business where you have maybe it's not even the same law firm because hashtag branding. We own multiple law firms. I don't even know if that's a thing you can do, but that's what I'm doing in my scenario. You own
Sure.
multiple law firms that can share resources. But one is more the concierge type, and it has, a much fancier office with really cushy, quiet couches and things like that. And the other one is for, more kind of that middle of the road standard divorce. And then we have kind of the pro bono one that is using the resources that the higher concierge one is bringing in to help women that are actually in a bad situation. And obviously, like I feel like I need to say this. It's not that the pro bono one will have hard chairs and an ugly office. But it just might not be in marble, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's important too that people are comfortable in the space that they're in. And if I walked into a marble law office, I'd be like, shit, I don't belong here. I need to go somewhere else. So maybe having like these 3 divisions under 3 different brands, and that's how we can help the little guy, right?
Yep.
So you use the income from these high tickets. That's why Suits is able to do the pro bono cases, because they make so much money on the high end, and they can use their resources to do pro bono cases near the bottom. And you can still have a quality lawyer on there, not somebody who is getting paid, $30,000 a year and barely making it through. You can have a higher quality lawyer working on that, because the concierge service is evening out the costs across the board. So we can help both the rich people and all their coddling that they need, and then also help the people that actually need the help.
Okay, I like it. I like the model. If I
And
may,
I don't even think you could create a model like that for the men.
if I may, do I have permission to try? Because I think I can. Okay, so, and we're kind of getting out of the realm of local business, if that's okay. I'm gonna scale a little bit more, and it's also out of the realm of really me being the lawyer, even though I am a lawyer. Do you know the guy who does financial education? He's like an older guy. I can't remember his name right now, but he does
Dave Ramsey?
Yes, Dave Ramsey. Okay, so his whole business model is basically like lead gen. He sells like education courses and coaching and all that, but I believe the majority of his revenue comes from lead gen for like financial tools and things that he sends those leads to, and that's where he makes the bulk of his money. So what I would do is I would become a personality where I get these guys who are going through divorce on an interview with silhouetted, voice changed, and I talk to them about their experience, and I teach them how to go through the process, and I use that to create viral content and kind of again, men's rights activist-y, kind of slimy guy kind of stuff.
Women are the worst.
Yeah, stick it to the women, and I use that to generate leads that I then sell to lawyers and law firms at different tiers. So if they'll fill out maybe a survey or a quiz to figure out the best, placing you with the best divorce attorney, and I would use it as a lead gen business, and I would sell those leads to lawyers, because divorce leads, I'm sure, are worth a metric ton of money, and really that's the way I would scale it beyond.
That's really smart.
Yeah, I don't think I would do local offices. I would just be a content business, a media company that generated leads and then sold those leads to law firms. That would be how
And I will totally steal that idea too.
Yeah.
No, because I think that's fantastic, because then you can have you're getting divorce starter kit, right? And they ask for the starter kit, and then you have, these qualified lawyers you've worked with or that you're that are affiliated with you. They pay some sort of fee to get on your list in the first place. They don't even get on your list unless you've put them through some sort of vetting process first.
Yep. And they gotta pay. They gotta pay to even be on the list.
Right. They got to be paid to be on the list, and then when they get the lead from you, they're paying for the lead as well.
Yeah.
And possibly even having them territory specific. So
100%. Yeah.
Like so a divorce attorney in Fort Myers, there's one that they can send to, and you pay for every lead that they send in that direction.
And they have to pay more if they want to be the only one in that area, right? Yeah. If they want to lock the whole area down, it's three times the price.
Yep. They have to pay more.
Yep. And I'm still a lawyer, so like I'm talking from a place of understanding and knowledge, and I'm able to guide these people, these guys through this process and really connect them. That's the pitch, right? I'm the one who knows the right lawyers to connect you with that are going to do right by you and make sure she gets the least amount of money. All you got to do is fill out my quiz about how to, whatever. Yeah.
And you won't even have to say, I can't answer that because I'm not a lawyer, like everybody else does on every other show.
Yeah, I'll just answer it. Yeah. Yeah. You still have to qualify and say this isn't legal advice, but I am a lawyer, and then you can answer. Yeah. And that's what I would do. Become a lead gen, like a marketing company, as opposed to a law office. That is much more scalable, and thank you for letting me take it outside of the local business.
Well, it is local though, because now for each one of these, it is local because you're just assigning each person to the local person for them. Because ultimately, a divorce attorney is a local thing. I'm not, unless you're uber rich, where you're like somehow able to fly somebody in to be your divorce attorney, and they are able to practice law in that state and all of that good stuff, then most of us are dealing with who is nearby. And one of the biggest challenges is I don't know who to trust, right? I don't know who to trust. So I got to go through a divorce. I don't know who to trust. And so you as a local person can become that small town famous, or you can have the large personality, the Dave Ramsey, the legal Dave Ramsey.
Yep.
You could have Andrew Tate over here.
Yeah.
Saying like, That's
who I'm picturing. That's it.
I've been thinking about him the whole time. I have access to all of these best local people. You trust me, and so whomever I recommend is who you can trust.
You could probably even spin this up just pulling Andrew Tate clips and just like all those men's rights activist people, and just have links to like these landing pages with these surveys, and only pull the things where they're talking negatively about women. Like, oh my gosh, that would be the low-cost way to start it up.
The problem with the Andrew Tate crowd, though, is they're not married in order to get divorced.
Yeah, they've never been in a relationship, so yeah.
So you gotta find, you almost have to do kind of that upscale, like cigar, whiskey type persona.
Most interesting divorce attorney in the world.
Yeah, the most interesting divorce attorney in the world. That's exactly right.
We've come full circle.
Yes, I think that's perfect, because then you can... You're talking, because to me, your ideal client is the country club attendee.
Yep.
Right? That's the guy who listens to potentially, and I'm going to make this connection, I don't know who it is now, but Rush Limbaugh, right?
Sure.
Like a Rush Limbaugh listener, that's where you buy your ads, that's where you get interviews with those types of guys. They're going to the country club, they're hanging out with their buddies. We also know these are the ones likely to get divorced because they're freaking hanging out at a country club on the weekend and not spending time with their wife.
Sure.
So like, and I've heard this too about how, and I can use this on my side for sure as well, but how men will prioritize their hobbies over their families. And so if you could target those particular hobbies, you know those marriages are already in danger because they're spending so much time, money, and attention on the hobby, and the wife is feeling ignored. And on my end, I can use that as like, hey, if your husband has these hobbies, like these are the guys, I don't know quite how I would say it, but just for me, it's just about I don't want to say tightening the screws. It's about affirming everything she thought was true.
Yeah, it's the problem agitation solution thing, right? Like, here's your
Yes,
problem.
problem.
Yeah, yeah, here's your problem. Like, your husband's not spending any time with you because he's doing XYZ. He's going to keep doing that. That's the agitation. He's going to keep doing it and doing it more, so you're going to be left alone more. Solution is divorce. Here's how it works. It's not as scary as it seems. This is
Yep.
how you get started. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm just thinking I feel like there's something I'm missing with that. If women initiate most divorces, most men are off, hiking and Ironman and
What's wrong with hiking? I hike all the time.
not hiking, but like
Am I going to get divorced?
like rock climbing. You know what I mean? Like we're spending
What's wrong with rock climbing?
the whole weekend with their buddies. That's what's wrong with
Oh,
rock
okay, cool.
But every weekend. That
okay.
seems to be where the problem is. So I feel like there's a way to bring that over on the ladies' side to maybe show that it's probably just on the list of red flags.
Yeah.
I mean, a red flag is going to be the mascot on the ladies' side. We're gonna have like people running around with giant red flags on the front lawn and giving them checklists that have just red flags on the whole thing.
Red flag law firm, red flag legal.
Does your husband do this? Red flag.
Man, I didn't know. I feel like I'm nervous now. But in my defense, I invite Mariah all the time to come hiking with me. So like, I'm just like, come on. But I didn't know I was in danger because I was a hiker. I wanted to start rock climbing. There's a rock climbing gym on Elite, like right up the street. I'm not going to do it now. I got to protect my marriage.
It probably, yeah. That's yeah. If I were to give you advice as a therapist, I would say don't do it. But as a women's divorce attorney, fucking go rock climbing.
Yeah, here's my coupons for rock climbing gyms.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. We could just start passing out coupons to men and say, go find another hobby. Mm-hmm. And we have the wife's contact information.
Now that's where you get into like the really slimy stuff. It's like, how do you push the other person to make a mistake in the divorce and like send people to, make them slip up or whatever. Yeah.
I've seen slimy. Like that where you like send what do they call that? Like a honeypot or something like that. Yep. And just be like, will he cheat or won't he cheat? And then, make the decision. But yeah, I think that's definitely slimy.
Yep.
But at the same time, if they choose to cheat, it still says something about them. You know what I mean? Like it's unfair to put them in this situation, but at the same time, if they do it, that's still the person that they are.
Yep.
If they said yes that time.
Yeah, that was still in there. Yeah, and you could do things like get the husband's card information, and you as the attorney for the ladies, you could get the husband's card information and buy flowers and send them to someone, like in with like a card, and he could be like, I don't know, I didn't send that to anybody, and she'd be like, well, who are you sending flowers to? It's 1-800-flowers.com, and cause that fight. Yeah, there's a lot of slimy
that's
stuff.
Even more slimy because he didn't do anything
exactly
wrong. In a honeypot situation, like he can say no, he can save himself, but in that situation, you're just I'd be pissed.
Yep. Slimy. Yeah.
And when you have real evidence, like, I know you did it, this is your credit card information.
Here's the receipt for the flowers. Yep. They took a picture when they delivered it and have like a girl in the man, that's rough.
Like with cleavage and everything, like and with like kissy face.
Oh no.
That would be bad. Mm-hmm. That would be bad.
Yep. Very slimy.
Yeah. So obviously I would never do that.
I would.
I am not a slimy lawyer.
My lawyer would.
Your lawyer would?
Yeah.
But what is the alternative on... Because men don't want to get divorced. You know what I mean? Like setting something up like that really seems to only work on the women's side because she gets mad and jealous and whatever.
I think that men don't want to get divorced, but if they think that she's looking for a divorce, they might start to try and figure it out, right? So, like, what I would do as the guy would be, like, pay someone to fake serve him papers or something like that. If I was being really slimy, it's like, how do we get him to think that she's actually trying to file for divorce? Maybe we get pictures of her meeting with some guy or running into a guy with like a briefcase and a nice suit, and like her handing papers back that he dropped or something like that. Get some pictures that made it look like she's talking to a lawyer, and that would probably spur him on. And like all the while, it was your guy that you sent. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And you could tell him, like, hey, you have all the leverage if you file first.
Yeah. Yep.
If
Exactly.
you wait for her to file, look, she's already meeting. She met with this woman who we are pretty 99% sure that is the lady divorce attorney over here.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, she's a real pit bull. We got to jump on this before they can even. We have to have the element of surprise.
Yep.
We're going to file before they do. And
exactly. Yeah. That's what I would do if I were being slimy. That's my slimy lawyer character. So.
And I think that kind of brings in the idea of working with private investigators as well for leads, right? So husband has his wife followed, wife has the husband followed. A private investigator knows where trouble is brewing, and so having a good relationship, I would be taking that private investigator on trips and giving gifts and whatever's legal. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice.
Yeah, same.
This is not actual marketing advice for lawyers. In my world, where I am a lawyer, I would schmooze the heck out of that guy. And even if it's women sending after men, hire a private investigator to find out what their man's up to. I can find a woman who's possibly ready for divorce. But if he can also leak me information that, hey, by the way, where was I going with that? If he can leak me information that I already have a client, and he's like, wait, I just had this client who now wants to have her followed, that sort of internal kind of.
Yeah, you gotta get the jump on things so that you can react faster than the other side. That's how you win the case. Based on all the TV cases I've seen.
Based on years of extensive law and order, which is funny too, because when I was sitting there in that courtroom, I thought, man, I don't want to be a lawyer. At first, there were moments where I was like, that's cool. Like, that's cool. Even at a point where the defense attorney was kind of stuck on how to frame a question. He's like, hold on for a second, let me think. And I'm like, I appreciate thinking, right? I appreciate that he's formulating something in his head and he's trying to build that question out in a way that works, right? I really appreciated that. But what I really loved was the police interview with the suspect. I think I want to be a detective.
Yeah.
So in the law and order scenario, I think I'm on the detective side. I want to be I'm old school, like Mike and Lenny Law and Order, like way back in the 90s. I want to be the one sitting the person down in the interrogation room and just like trying to get them tripped up and all of that.
Yep.
But
yeah, I think I would want to be the witness that gets interviewed by the news and then their clip on the news goes viral. I want to be that person.
You want to be that person?
Yeah.
I tell you who was the other cool person in the trial was the forensic scientist.
Sure.
So there were some forensic people that collected the forensic data, but the woman who actually did the DNA testing and had the results and the way she answered questions, super smart. And even the lawyers were like, okay, wait, what does that mean? You know, like and I thought, shame on those lawyers. They should have talked to her so thoroughly beforehand that they knew exactly what she meant and that there should not have been a surprise coming out of her mouth at all to either one of them.
Yep.
And so they were like, wait a minute, are you saying that it's this? And the way they asked it, I'm like, they really didn't know that she was going to say this or that. So no, she was really cool. She was like very nerdy and like just a skinny little nerdy woman, and she's reading out all like this data, like DNA data. It was so fantastic. It was
nice.
really cool. So I want to be her.
Sure.
Too.
Love a good nerd. That's
but
like
I think
my kind of people.
I think what makes this fun is the mental game of it, of, being strategic And that's ultimately what we're doing in marketing, right? We're being strategic. We're trying to think of what the other person is going to do before the other person does it.
Yep.
We want to enter the conversation already happening in their head. And I think that's one of the things I really enjoy about the show Suits, is when they know what the move of the next person is going to be based on the information they already know about that person.
Yep. Yep.
And I think while they're doing it on a one-on-one basis, and they're really doing salesmanship, right?
Yep.
Because what's his face? I can't never remember their names. The main guy, not
Yep.
Mike, the other one.
Harvey,
thank you. When Harvey is able to close people, it's really psychology, right?
Yep.
It's understanding what buttons to push, what to leave alone, what motivators he's going to bring into the conversation, and knowing that if I'm going to bluff this person, that I can bluff this person because this person would be too embarrassed to try to check me on my bluff, right?
Yep.
And I think that it's a much more intense version of what we do with marketing, of saying, like, this person has this problem, and I know if I say these things in this way, that I'm going to connect with them and where they are in their problem in a way that they will call me.
Yep.
And that we can even predict that we'll get 10% of them will call, right? And I think that is what is interesting about being a lawyer. If you didn't have to learn all the law stuff, if you could just be the negotiator, you know what I mean, and just really learn that human psychology part of things.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that's really, in the end, I think that's what drives a lot of these lawyers, is not so much the money, but the game.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's what this show is, right?
Too.
Yeah. That's what the show is. It's the love of the game, but it's like the game of marketing. So yeah.
Yeah, and the money is just a way of keeping score.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like I said, that's how I feel with marketing. I think that's how you feel, that this is just a game. It's a game to figure out. Once you figure it out, yes, you make the money, but you got to figure out it in the meantime. So, do you have any... I'm trying to think if there's anything else on the list we usually have that we didn't bring up, that we didn't cover. We talked about joint ventures. We talked about who our customer is.
List building, we did
list
scaling.
Building,
Yep.
And even list building, I think, would be tricky. I was trying to think about that with list building. If you got people on an email list that are thinking about getting divorced, that could be tricky, right?
Yep.
You're sending emails. They would almost have to be incognito as well, and maybe go through different names, because if you're sending emails to people and the husband sees that this is like from Joanne Fabrics, he's not going to open it. But yeah, how do you, even direct mail, he could get it. Email, he could get it. Yeah. How do you build a list and actually utilize that list and market to that list without the other person getting, because we're basically going to war with two people who live in the same house, and we're planning for war, and the two people are still living in the same house, and we can't tip our hand to the other person. So how do you market to somebody who needs to be marketed to completely privately and not tip the hand to the other person or put them in a dangerous situation?
That's a really interesting challenge. I think that maybe we can point to some of the world building skills that we've talked about before, where maybe you could say, once you get them to actually take the step to trust you, to submit their information or submit the lead, it's like, welcome to the war, right? On my side, it's like, now we're in a war. The portion of the war that we're in now is recon. So we need to be careful how we do things here, and here are the steps that we need to take. And then on your side of the aisle, it's the same, but I feel like you just can't use that language. Like, you have to build a different
it's how do you protect yourself, and you're going to war. I'm going to talk more about protecting yourself, keeping yourself safe.
Yep.
not. Yeah, I think that's pretty much. You just protect yourself, keep yourself safe, and empower yourself to be able to go through the process. I think empower is what I was looking for.
Yep, and then that world, right? It's like, how do you, when you do world building, you can have your own language, you can have your own terms, your own way that you speak about things, and I think that you could do the same thing for your mass communication. If it's like, hey, when you sign up for the, hey, ex-wife who would like to get divorced, when you sign up for this list, we are going to talk about these 3 topics with you. These 3 topics are not going to be called these 3 topics. They're going to be called XYZ. And if you keep it simple, I feel like you could have your own way of communicating with people from a brand that's like made up. Like, here's what you need to do if you're going shopping on Black Friday and you want to get the best deal.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? There's
A lot of
something
people
there.
do that on TikTok with sensitive subjects where
Yeah.
you can't like specifically talk about, like they say grape instead of
Yeah.
rape, right? And then they'll kind of like create an analogy that continues to go through even to other TikToks where they continue on this same analogy so that everybody in their audience knows what they're talking about, but they're not getting demonetized, right?
Yep. Yep.
And if you really didn't know, if you come in fresh, you might get a little bit lost and not quite sure what they're talking about.
Yeah, and that in and of itself is powerful, right? Like, I'm in a couple Facebook groups where that's the hallmark of the group. You're in there and you have no idea what's going on, and it takes time and involvement to understand all the things that people are talking about. And like, they'll use references from this one's more humor. They'll use references from memes that were created in the group in like 2017, and if you weren't in the group then, or if you haven't like asked somebody in the group, you won't know what it means. And like, I think maybe you might even be able to build kind of like a private community that's similar, like you said. But again, as you get scalable, as you grow, it's how do you keep a lid on it? How do you make sure that nobody knows? How do you make sure
having
that
kind of an anonymous forum that is about crocheting.
yes,
And that
Well,
is.
I mean, on anonymity, like if it was anonymous, I don't even think you'd have to worry about it. I think you could just
But
be anonymous.
my concern is if he finds that forum. So say she doesn't close off her computer, or there's
True,
a notification for the
Yep.
forum.
Yep.
Then I would keep the same kind of storytelling type thing in there so that if he finds it, it just looks like some boring crafting thing.
Yeah.
And you can move on.
Yeah, and then like you have to click through to get to the actual community. I think that might be the way to do it. You have like a cabinet in front of the secret door and whatever, and like it's an app on your phone. It could be an app on your phone.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah, I love that. If it's an app on your phone and it says like crafting group,
yep.
and then you go in and then you click through like 1 or 2 more times and
Yeah.
it opens up what's really there, which
Yeah.
is conversations about women wanting to get a divorce, then he's never going to click on that app
Yeah.
thinking that there's something there happening. No, I love that. And it can change from time to time so that like if it gets out there like, oh, this crafting app and
Yeah, and that's just a question of designing an app icon in a couple pages. Like that's very simple to update.
Yep. And then it just I like that.
It could even change regularly, like through a series of them, but the places that you click are the same. Does that make sense? It's like the app icon can cycle on like a monthly basis, and like the page you just have preset for each month or whatever, so that you wouldn't have to do that all like over again once it gets out. Because once it's out, and like people are going to be looking for weird apps that aren't brand name things, and so maybe having it cycle and might keep it fresh. Yeah, that's an interesting technical challenge for sure.
Yeah, and possibly even being able to make it so that somebody could have their own personalized icon. So it's something that they're actually interested in. So if you do crochet, you have a crochet one. But if you don't crochet and the husband's like, what is this crochet icon?
Yep.
Maybe there's a way that you can, again, technical challenge, create a different icon. Each person can create their own kind of icon that goes on there.
Yeah.
I almost thought about how like a lot of people name their Wi-Fi like virus.
Yeah.
Like have it even be something that's like so mundane or so like, ooh, I don't want to click that. I don't know what that is, or that just seems too boring.
It could be like a period tracker app.
There you go. They'll never click
They'll
that.
never click it.
They'll never click it. And it could still be a period tracker app.
Ah,
And it's
game
a legit
changer.
period tracker app.
Ah,
But then there's a back door that nobody knows about.
wow, that's game changer. It's called vertical integration. People,
That's
take notes.
exactly right. That's exactly right. I love it. Well, any last words? I think I think we may be evenly matched, although I have the moral high ground.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
I'm very curious, like if this podcast does blow up at some time in the future, I'm very curious about the comment section of this particular video on YouTube.
Yep.
I think it's very different than I even thought we were going to go, which
Same.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Very good conversation. And I think that the comments will create a lot of really great conversations
Yeah,
as well.
for sure. And I don't know if we said it in the beginning of this one. Like, I didn't know what topic you'd picked. So I came in blind.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I came in having no idea what we were going to talk about today, and we did the same thing on the last episode. I like that format. It keeps it keeps me on my toes, and like I don't know what to expect, and I think it helps kind of the creativity flow. And if I had any last words, I think that it's that I'm really a nice guy, and like I'm not a slimy lawyer. In fact, I'm kind of quiet and diminutive and very nice and polite. And I respect women, and I respect all people. That's what I would say.
And I can vouch for Duncan. He is a very nice guy.
Thanks.
Yes, and I didn't do anything slimy, so I don't have to give any.
Definitely have the moral high ground. People are 100% going to side with you on this one.
But
Yeah.
I love that you also were like brave enough to be like, all right, I see the opportunity, right? And I've said that a few times, or I've talked to some of my marketing buddies, and I'm like, okay, here's an idea I would never, ever do. But I think I could make a lot of money if I did this thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really gross thing to do. So, yeah, I'm glad that you went that direction. Because I think it also helps. I mean, wherever putting limitations on your marketing ideas are always going to stunt your ideas, right? Mm-hmm. The second you put a limitation that I can't cross that line, right? So there may be legal lines, I am sure, that we have crossed in this conversation. But somebody else listening to this may not have that line as far as a legal line, right? So I may not be able to legally provide all the concierge services that I want because I'm a law office. Maybe we have to like farm that out to somebody else. I don't know. There's like things that you can and cannot do. But maybe somebody can get an idea from that. But if we cross a line, and I've heard people say this, like, well, I can't do that legally because, I'm like, okay, but this is the result we want to get to, right? So what can we do? How far up to that line can we go without crossing it? And I hear this a lot from financial advisors, like, I can't give testimonials. I can't give examples of my clients.
Yep.
So therefore, I can't market. And I'm like, okay,
it's all excuses.
We have a line, but what do we ultimately want? We want people to trust that you're going to give them results, right? So telling them you got results from somebody else would accomplish that. So what can we, if we're not allowed to say that, what can we do that doesn't cross that line? But you've got to be willing to cross the line initially. You know, if you say, well, I can't say or do anything like that, then you're never going to find the things that are within your scope.
Yeah, you have to be willing to ask the question. You know, right. I did some work with a financial advisory group, and it was like, I would just ask, like, why can we, for example, start a media company that's completely separate entity, not bound by the laws that we are, the compliance laws that we are, that just talks and educates about finance, that has nothing to do with us other than it being a lead gen business. Just like I said here, it's like, If you can get somebody that's not a financial advisor doing financial education like Dave Ramsey, like whoever, and literally just use that to funnel people into this business, what's the problem with that? And it was like, oh no, we can't because if they're in any way affiliated or whatever. And it's like, no, completely separate business. Like, different person, don't even talk to them, but like, this is the business plan.
Okay, if we can't be affiliated, then what's the step back from that?
Exactly.
Right? You go over the line and then bring, and I want to be clear, I'm going to do my disclaimer. I'm not telling anybody to cross legal or ethical lines.
Same.
I'm saying as a thought experiment, cross the line.
Yep.
Push the boundary that you think you're not allowed to push, and then find out where are the opportunities that maybe other people are too scared because they think they're not allowed, but in fact, you actually have a separate company that is simply giving you leads, right?
Right? Or the line only exists for a separate business that you create that you don't operate. You just own it. That again are just arbitrary that industries have created, not. It's just like
and that's a huge point too.
Yep.
So if there's a difference between breaking the law and then breaking an industry norm and breaking your own comfort level of nobody does this.
Yep.
So that's another thing I hear a lot. And speaking of lawyers, I would be remiss if I didn't tell the one lawyer story I know from marketing. And that is my mentor, Dan Cricks, worked with a lawyer. And this is back in the day, Duncan, there used to be these things called yellow pages.
What's that?
And it was a book that had lots of phone numbers in it. And you looked up companies that you needed to hire in the yellow pages.
Ali, I was born before the internet existed. Okay. I don't know how old you think I am.
But barely.
But barely, yeah.
But barely. I was graduating high school by the time, like, people knew what the internet was.
Sure.
So I don't know. He was helping this client who was trying to stand out in his Yellow Pages ad. And, everybody that's a lawyer, buttoned up, professional, picture of them, name across the top, phone number, trusted, all of these things. Everybody did the exact same thing. What he had his client do, he said, let's talk about the pain points. What is the frustration everybody has when they try to call a lawyer? And for his particular kind of law, it was they're sitting in jail and trying to call their lawyer and nobody is answering the phone. And then they don't hear back from them for 3, 4, 5 days, right? Not hours. And so what he did, and they're in you think of somebody like calling a lawyer, they have a problem that is urgent to them.
Yep.
So what he did is he replaced the headline, put the name at the bottom, put the headline at the top. We return all calls within 24 hours guaranteed. Since that was the big pain point that he identified, he talked to that pain point right there in the ad. And he pushed back against Dan, and he's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. And he's like, what do you mean you're not allowed? You're not allowed. Are you going to call them back within 20? Oh, yeah, we can totally do that. We already do that. We call them within 24 hours. Perfect. Other people don't.
Yeah.
And so he ran the ad, and his phone, 1, blew up with customers, but 2, blew up with other lawyers calling him and telling him he can't do that. That's not what we do.
Yeah.
That's not how we do this.
Yeah.
Right? And even the Yellow Pages, I've had experience with ad reps and whatever that are like, that's not how we run ads.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I heard how you run ads. This is how I'm going to run my ad. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard Dan Kennedy once say that if the ad rep isn't kicking and screaming and throwing a fit about the ad you submitted, you didn't push the boundary far enough. And so sometimes we imagine there are boundaries that are not actually there. And what I really want people to get from this show in particular, and all of our other shows as well, is to stand out, you've got to not look and act like everybody else. So those boundaries you've created within your industry that you think you are held to, you are not necessarily held to. And you can go out of the box and get creative and do things that nobody else is willing to do. And that's how you win.
That was a great soundbite. I know we're not supposed to call that out, but you nailed it right there.
Okay, when I grab the soundbite, I'm grabbing your bit of it too.
Yes. That's all I was trying to do. I just wanted to sneak in at the end there so I could be added. Yeah.
I love it. All right, any last words, Duncan?
No, I already did my last words. I'm a nice guy, I swear.
He's a nice guy, he swears. Well, thank you everybody for listening in. This was a really enjoyable episode for me for different reasons. It was definitely a challenge, and it was also very interesting and a lot of fun. I had a good time. Thank you, Duncan, for hanging out with me and chatting marketing. And
Yeah.
thank you everybody else for listening. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.